Huh, that kind of looks unusual. Whoa, whoa. I've been exploring a section of high desert for a few months now. Each trip I'll pick a certain area and slowly search the terrain, looking for logical areas where people may have congregated as well as hunted. My discoveries have been numerous. I can only presume that what I keep coming across are merely hunting camps of a sort, nothing sedentary. The artifacts that I come across indicate just that, the hunt. These objects are predominantly projectile points and other tools such as knives or scrapers. It's quite fascinating, as I roam the desert, to dwell on what life must have been like for these hunters. Was their life one of constant movement? Winters in lower elevations and summers in higher elevations, following game, and existing in temporary shelters and camps? Or was the area I search merely a wilderness that provided meat for a permanent village that was located nearby? Maybe it's a little bit of both scenarios, depending on the time period. Regardless, there are many things to contemplate. Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. Please join me as I head out into the desert to discover what once was. Buenos dias. Man, we have arrived. Gloves, beanie, hoodie. It's pretty darn cold out here. The sun's just come up and I've got maybe 4 hours. This afternoon, a storm front is coming in and it's going to rain for like the next 3 days. So this is all I got right here. So I dashed out here, taking advantage of the window of weather. And man, it's a beautiful morning out here. So we're gonna do our usual routine. We're gonna walk, and I'm following a fairly large drainage just off to my left. So we're gonna kind of walk along that. Maybe the sides of the drainage, opposite sides, and see if we come across any artifacts. More than likely projectile points or maybe scrapers. Anything that would have been used into hunting scenario. So that's what we're looking for, strictly on the surface, of course. And man, as I was riding out this morning, I saw different groups of antelope coming out here. It was pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen that many antelope. So I don't know if it's a seasonal thing, because we're moving, what are we, early fall, I guess. And the animals are making their way in different places, you know, migration patterns. But this area was and still is a very fertile hunting ground. So I just think it's cool when I see the animals in their natural habitat, especially large groups of antelope like that, because it's just not, you don't see antelope very often. And it's not just antelope out here, of course, but mule deer and these days wild horses. But if we go back 1,000 years ago, or maybe even longer than that, then you can imagine what, elk, I should say elk, what the hunting opportunities would have been like out here.
especially if we go back like into the Archaic period or even to the Paleo period. So it just would have been incredible. So that being said, we're gonna get to it. Yeah, so one of the videos I just put up, I found a really nice projectile point in a drainage. And as you can see, I'm following this drainage up, but as I'm pointing out, you can see animals have been utilizing this because it's a path of least resistance. So I mentioned that in the previous video, animals would have utilized this as, you know, a thoroughfare, getting to places a lot easier. So it's pretty cool. I check drainages out a lot. And that's what we're going to be wandering around in today, kind of in and out of it for the next few hours. If we get up out of the drainage, like onto some more level ground, maybe we'll come across a camp or a kill site, maybe a combination of those two. So people would have gone back and forth through this area over thousands of years. I don't think there's anything permanent out here, like a sedentary type village. I could be wrong, but I haven't come across anything thus far that would indicate that. I think mainly they were just probably camps, hunting camps, as people move back and forth with the seasons, following animals, resources, and that. So, but you never know what you can find in the desert. So we're just gonna crisscross the drainage, get up on either side and have a look. I was just on the opposite side right over here, and I found quite an abundance of debitage, lithic material, a lot of flaked obsidian over there. I presume it's going to be up here as well. So people were on either side. Well, I don't know, I haven't got up to this side yet, but they most definitely were on that side, working on tools, producing tools. So it's good. Okay, so that big drainage is just down from here. Here's another kind of slight pour off, I should say, another smaller drainage that's emptying into the larger drainage. And already there's flaked obsidian in here. So that's either tumbling down as water pushes it down, so it goes back up a little higher. Maybe we got a camp up in here. So we're gonna walk up in there and have a look. Yeah, lots of obsidian right here. And the ground's covered now. There's debitage everywhere. Wow. I thought I might point out as well, here's the drainage. And right next to the drainage is a pretty well-defined game trail. So animals have been going back and forth, creating this trail. It almost looks like a hiking trail, but it's not. You can see the the hoof prints all in it. So that's following the drainage. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, path of least resistance. This is, animals utilize this, take advantage of that. So if I were a hunter, I would have positioned myself maybe on either side, higher up, to where I could throw down or shoot down, you know, whatever I'm utilizing, atlatl or bow. It's a lot easier than shooting up. So there could be an artifact somewhere in here. All right, so I've come up and followed the drainage, and I'm getting to an area where it's fairly level, and there's some rock outcropping. Like there's the hill, then below it there's a big rock outcropping. It's actually where I wanted to head. So I'm gonna move into this area here. It's level and it's kind of like a depression here. I feel like that might have been maybe a good place to base camp, but I found as I came up in the drainage, there was just obsidian flaking all up into it. And then as I'm continuing, I'm still coming across plenty of it. No artifacts yet, but it's the way it goes sometimes. So I'll keep moving through. So I just found this And you can see where, well, let me move to another camera. So I just found this pretty much where I'm standing, and there's quite a bit of obsidian flaking around it. And there's no other rock around that kind of matches the material. I think this is a work piece. You can see right here where this might have been smacked and the resulting piece flaked off. But what's getting my attention is if you look at the edge here, I think you can see along the edges where this is kind of turned serrated. And that's a pretty sweet cutting piece right there. You can see where things have been, where it's been notched to create a serration, like a blade. And that piece right there might have been knocked out for, if I go right-handed, excuse me, here we go. See how my thumb would fit perfectly in that space right there that's been flaked out. It's like, this is like, feels perfect for a cutting. And look at how sharp that is. If you ran that down your arm, across your stomach, it'd open you right up. Now, this is, of course, my own speculation, but I do believe this is a worked piece. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Ooh, another nice drainage right here. We're gonna follow this up a bit. Huh, that kind of looks unusual. Whoa, 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 that's a big old worked piece. Check this out. This isn't obsidian, this is basalt. Whoa, this is a totally worked piece. Check it out. Check out the edges there. What? That's a big old worked. It's a knife. That's a basalt knife right there. Wow. Looks like the tip broke maybe. Yeah, this thing's big. Look how big this is. Wow, it's a total basalt knife. That's sweet. Wow. I just want to do one more close-up of this big old basalt knife here. With the direct sunlight on it, you can get an idea of how this was shaped. That's just awesome. Check that out. Oh man, what a great find. Today is definitely a success then. Look at that thing. I mean, it stood out. I was like, it just looks weird. And then my eyes kind of like trained to look at obsidian right now, but this is great. So here's that kind of level area I mentioned earlier, kind of like a tiny little basin, like a depression right here. And that drainage is right over there that I found the basalt blade in. There's another like little drainage here that water's cut a path through, and there's just debitage all in it. And if I look this way, the ground's glowing. That's all obsidian flaking all up through here. So you've got this like big rock outcropping right here, kind of like in the middle of the jungle, so to speak, in the middle of the forest here. I bet people, this is a great place to climb up to, and you get views all around. Maybe I'll walk up there, but this would give you views like 360 degrees. People could have hunted from up there. They definitely were up there watching, you know, looking. So immediately at my feet, I've got a variety of materials here. As you can see, got chert, obsidian. It's all debitage, and the ground's pretty much covered right here at the base of this outcropping. So it's a good spot. Good views from the top of this rock outcropping. And down right below it is just, the ground's just littered with debitage. So it's probably surrounding the whole outcropping here around it. I might go down this other side and have a look in this flat area too. So that's pretty cool. Weather coming in that way. And to the west, to the south, it's coming. I got a few more hours out here. But yeah. People were definitely hanging out up here, having a look. Look at all that. Yep. All right, we'll continue the search. All right, back down to the drainage. I'm gonna follow this up a little ways, and then I'll go back up and over and connect to the first big drainage and walk that back down to the truck. We'll follow this one up for a minute and maybe come across something cool in here again. I've come to a high point. I'm making my way back to the original drainage. I'm going to follow that out, but as you can see, oh yeah, here's our view. That's the storm. So it's already got exponentially larger since I was at the top of that rock outcropping. And I don't want to be all the way back here when that precipitation begins. So I'm going to drop down this other drainage. I think this is my original drainage, or it's either past just over the next hill. I'll follow that back out to the truck, but that's going to be on top of me pretty soon, within the next, I don't know, hour and a half or so. Happens fast out here, so I'm going to, like I mentioned, drop down the other drainage, follow that out. Maybe I'll run into something on the way. Oh, wow, look at that. Sitting right there. Huh. Some right there too. That's interesting. Pieces like that. Wow. Not too far from the truck at this point, and the only thing I really came across as I made my way down the drainage was just a good bit of obsidian flakes. No artifacts. That's all right. It was a fantastic day, great walk. No snakes, no bugs. Temperature was just perfect, and I did find a couple of interesting artifacts. One for sure was an artifact. That first one I looked at definitely looked like a blade of some sort, but the basalt knife was, yeah, it was the real deal there. So fascinating day, beautiful area. I'll be back to continue searching when time permits. So that's the story, and you can see what I pointed out earlier. This storm's already getting on top of me. So, got to get back to the truck and get out of here before the rain comes. And there will be lots more content. However, it may be a little intermittent, so appreciate your patience and thank you very much for watching. Folks, we'll see you next time. D-Rock out. Adios.